I believe that it's then, in that moment, when you decide, nope, it's damn close, but it ain't it. And then you take it and you throw it away. It's the moment, the false idealized version of yourself that has all these hopes and goals and dreams of being just so happy and successful, that all dies. And you get to begin the real process. Here I am, standing face to face with an aspect of myself, individualized as King Paimon, like a wall being broken down for me to experience these things finally. Welcome back. This is the second episode of Shadow Journals. If you did not see the first one, I will link it up in the cards here, and you could go watch that one first if you'd like to. So even though I'm talking about myself and my journey and my experience, I really appreciate that you take the time out to come and hang out and watch these and leave comments and all of that. It's really special. I can't explain it in any other way than that. So thank you so much for being here. For old subscribers and new subscribers, hello, thank you. Today we're talking about my experience with King Paimon and how he's helping me along on my shadow journey. Last time I couldn't decide if I wanted to name this series Demonic Diaries or Shadow Journals, because I am talking about demons, but I'm also talking about my shadow work. And I like to give you guys like details. I like to keep these details on record for myself, but I know that Demonic Diaries did not come by accident. So I have named this series Shadow Journals for good, where we will be talking about my own shadow work and how the demons have helped me through it. We'll talk about every single one that is helping me with any aspects of shadow work as it comes up, either negative or positive shadows, as they integrate, and how the spirits have played a role in that and continue to play a role in that. And I've decided that Demonic Diaries will also be a thing, and the demons that I talk about in the Shadow Journals, I will also make a demonic diary about, one, who the demon is, their abilities, their attributes, what kind of things they like. It'll be more about them, how to call them, different chants or ends and things like that, to be able to connect with the demon yourself. So each shadow journal will have a correlating demonic diary. I'll probably be starting that one like this week. So far we have a shadow journals for Belial and King Paimon. So you can be expecting a demonic diary for Belial and King Paimon as well. So we're not gonna be talking about me and those, we're gonna be talking about them and you and how they can help you. So let's get into this work that I've been doing with King Paimon. In the last video, again, it's linked in the cards. If you just push the I, little I button, I with a circle around it, up at the top of the video, it will be linked there, my shadow journal with Belial, and you might want to watch that one first if you haven't seen it, because my journey with Belial, I've been working with him for months, and like, we've worked through so much together. What I shared in that video was just a sliver of what Belial has done for me, and the other stuff, you know, it kind of makes him look like he's just such a hard dude to work with. And I know a lot of people's experiences have been like that he really comes in and he just destroys everything or whatever. But that was not my experience with him at the beginning, and I probably do owe him another video to talk about the really good things that he did in my life before we got down to the destruction. But for the most part, the most life-changing stuff working with Belial was about, you know, really exposing the more negative or perceived to be negative aspects of shadow. The things that kind of like sit underneath and you don't really give them attention because you don't know that they're there, but they are sitting underneath and they are kind of running the show without you knowing. And he helped me to expose a lot of that, which was hard to face. It was really hard to look at and deal with, and just, it was tough. I've noticed a completely different experience with King Paimon, where shadows are still being exposed, but it's the type of shadows that are different. So everybody has shadows. Shadows are rejected aspects of self, and that can be anything from, you know, the more negative stuff that you judge people on, or it can be the things that you admire about people. But the easiest way to find your shadows are by using other people as mirrors for you. So when you look at another person, no matter if you're judging them for something that you can't stand that they're doing, or who they are, or what they have, or if you want what they have and you find yourself sort of envious towards them and jealous towards them and wishing that you could have that life, both of those are shadows. Both of those are rejected aspects of yourself, and they trigger something inside of you that tells you that you don't have that, that you will never have that, that you aren't that. But really, what happens when we integrate these shadows is that whether you're looking at something that you would normally judge as right or wrong, good or bad, you look at it and you see yourself in that situation. So King Paimon has shown me the more desirable shadows within myself. When you integrate these things, you begin to look at people and say, oh, that's awesome. Like, she's badass. She's so talented. And so am I. It's not really a conscious conversation like that. It's just something that takes place in you where you do appreciate people. And you know that it's a mirror for you. You know that you have the same and you are the same. That's kind of what King Paimon has really been helping me to see, is the greatness within myself. And I'll talk a little bit more about that as we go. On March 26th, we did a group road opener spell here on my channel. And you can find that here on the channel if you want to participate in it. I believe that I made it available whether you're watching past, present, or future. And people got really great results from doing that spell. We have a little channel for the road opener experiences in the Discord, which I will link in the comments. I'll just say that my experience with that spell was quite a bit different and quite a bit longer. Usually whenever I'm doing a road opener spell, it lasts about 3 days. This one lasted for about a month and a half because I was serious about opening these roads for myself. And you know, during the ritual, during the group ritual, all of us using our energy together, and you know, I called forth a lot of power to go out to the people as well who are watching and participating. And I believe that everybody else did that too, where we were just sending it into like this one pot of energy for a clearing and road opening, and it was for prosperity. And then afterwards I got off the live video, I got off the ritual so that I could continue my working, my personal working with Belial. And you know, I really wanted to clear out the shit, all of the shit. And so that's why it took me so long to complete it, because it was very intense and it was totally worth it. I have a feeling that during that ritual, that month and a half of working that ritual, King Paimon was standing at the ready as if Belial had invited him in. Like, he enlisted the service of King Paimon to complete and carry over the rest of that working. When I banish and I do cleansing and clearings and road openings, I don't just get rid of a certain energy. I like to reprogram my reality to do something new, because if we don't invoke something new, our reality is going to end up doing what it's originally programmed to do. I always have to make sure that there's something else I'm calling in to replace that I'm kicking out of the way. So in a road opening, you don't really think of that. You just think of it like maybe there's some rubble that fell on the road and you're clearing that out so you can continue on your path. Well, for me, I cleared that out, and then I carved the path that I wanted to take. So it was more than a road opening. It was more like a road opening plus, you know, giving directions as well. So on May 10th, I set up an offering for King Paimon, and it was because I was talking to Uriel, who I also have on my channel, my Infernal Pops, and he was talking about Pazuzu and King Paimon, and I started texting him and I wrote, you know, I've been thinking a lot about Paimon too. I've been thinking a lot about working with him. And as I was writing that, I hear, it's King. And I was like, whoa, okay. So I wrote King in front of Paimon before I sent the message, and then I told Uriel what happened, and he was like, oh, yeah, that sounds like him. So I was like, well, I guess this is like totally clear. He's, you know, it's him calling me. That's why I've been getting a lot of, you know, signs to work with him, or a lot of feelings to work with him, why I've been feeling pulled specifically to him. And I never really was before. Like, the name King Paimon stood out a little bit to me, but it was never something that I was just like, oh yeah, I really want to work with him. You know, it wasn't like that until it just like, it was. I think we get like that with a lot of the spirits that we come across. We hear their name like a few times, and then we realize, oh duh, that's why I'm hearing about those, because I'm supposed to be working with them. And I think that happens with any of the demons that you have like the deepest relationships with. So it was just in that moment, whenever I heard it's King Paimon, that I knew, and I had decided, okay, well, we're gonna get our work started then. So I set up an offering for him. We made a fire outside. I lit a blue candle. I had drawn his sigil on a paper, and I put it on the outside altar, a glass of wine, and I made sure that I wasn't asking for anything. I just, you know, was making the offering, and I wrote on the paper, King Paimon, I would love to start a relationship with you. I'd love to start building a relationship with you. I hope that you accept this offering, something like that. And I left the offering for him. So I opened his sigil, and once it's open and I can really feel the energy going, I put his sigil in the fire, and I also poured some of the wine in the fire, and I just said, you know, if you accept my offering, could you give me a sign that you've accepted? A couple minutes later, I hear this clinking sound, and it's a chain going against the metal post where the horses are kept. And out of all the time living here, with as many fires and as many nights as we've spent outside, even on windy nights, like you don't hear that. So for me, that was my first sign, because one, King Paimon is depicted usually riding a camel, and what I think of when we're getting signs is that usually these signs kind of manifest within your environment that make relationships with the things that you're kind of looking for signs for. So of course a horse is not a camel, so that couldn't be a sign. It's not like a camel is just gonna walk through my yard in Texas, right? But you do ride horses just like you ride camels. And so for me, I thought that's a pretty good sign from King Paimon. So that was the first sign that I got, and I just knew, I was like, oh yep, there's my sign, thank you. I felt really happy about it. So we were just sitting there enjoying the fire, and when there's a fire, you pretty much always want to look at it because it just makes the coolest shapes, and then next thing you know, you're zoned out, and then you're scrying into the fire. So I'm like scrying into the fire, not really looking for anything, just really in a state of no mind. And next to me, there's this branch. I think it had fallen down, and Chris brought it over so that once it dries out, we could use it in the fire. So it was a pretty big branch, but it also had other little branches and leaves on it. It has a bunch of other small branches. As I'm scrying into the fire, I hear like a rustling sound, like those leaves that are kind of right next to me, probably about 3 feet away. And I look over, and this is a sturdy branch, okay? So the branches underneath it had to have been laying flat, just like because of the pressure being put down, the weight of the branches. And I look over, and it's almost, it looked like it was coming back from being pushed a little, you know, just like pushed, and then it lost its balance and came back. And I don't think the wind could have been strong enough to push it over like that. It literally looked like someone just like knocked it and it was coming back. I was like, did you see that? That was weird. Or just kind of like write it off as like, no big deal. Okay, cool, weird. That was a little weird. Next thing I know, I'm still, I'm like staring at the fire still, but this it was like this periphery this time. It wasn't like the side periphery. It was like you can actually see, like it's right here. Anyways, next thing I know, this branch looked like it was picked up and turned over, like it flipped. It like switched the way that it was laying. Chris and I were just like, okay, subtle. You know, it's like such a weird thing to happen. So it was, of course, I'm like, oh, that's my sign. That one was a bit intense. I let the candle burn down for a little bit longer, and then we went inside and I let the candle finish burning down inside my house. Poured the rest of the wine into the fire and we called it a night. The next day was Mother's Day. I had gotten a text from my mom saying Happy Mother's Day, which was weird because I haven't been talking to my mom since probably like around Thanksgiving. It might have been around Christmas, but I know it was one of the holidays. I thought that was the coolest thing ever because I felt that it was a third sign from King Paimon, and he was kind of flexing. He was kind of showing me like what's available, like what he can do. He was showing me his power, because one of the things that he can do is he can sort of influence people in your life to behave to your standards. Of course, I didn't ask him to do that, but I think he was showing me that like, hey, it's possible for you to have this relationship and for it to be in a way that's in your favor. And so I just thought, okay, that's a huge flex. This is sign number 3. It's King Paimon. Of course, I told Uriel what had happened, and he was like, dude, that's awesome. That's so great. From that day forward, like to this point, I have seen 3:33 on the clock every single day. And if I'm up that late, I see it twice. That's where the thing where I said I've tried to record this 3 times. This is my 3rd time recording this video. So yeah, the signs he gave me were in 3s. I'm seeing 3:33 on the clock every day, and then this is my 3rd time having to record this. And I'm sure there's other like synchronicity things that are happening in 3s, but yeah, I feel like there's a connection there with the 3s. Basically, King Paimon wanted me to invoke him every day. And like when I give him the offerings, I didn't want it to be a ritual evocation at all. I just wanted it to be casual. Whenever he told me that he wanted me to invoke him every day, it seems like almost immediately magic started to feel mundane. And I realized that it was because ceremonial ways of doing evocation and invocation feel forced to me. My focus on the invocation was really about building a relationship with him, and then also building that relationship within myself, because invocation means you're calling those qualities into yourself. Evocation is where you're manifesting the being that you're calling upon to, you're calling them to manifest outside of you. I think this is where King Paimon really wanted me to understand. One of his attributes and abilities is to bring wisdom to you. He's also a great alchemist, but he brings wisdom to you, and through him asking to be invoked every day is for me to remember to build that relationship with inside myself, and to also remember that the way of doing magic is a totally personal experience. Sometimes when you're reading words on a page, you're not going to feel it the same way as if you were trusting in your own power. I believe that this is one of those things where King Paimon started working on my positive shadows, helping me to see how much wisdom that I already do have to bring out into the world, how much work that I have put in, how much that the work I've put in with myself, my own inner work, and the work that I've put in with other people, that I understand archetypes and I understand the way that they manifest in people. I understand the personalities of the archetypes because I've met them, I've talked to them, I've helped them through trauma, I've helped them alchemize into something much greater. I felt so called to optimize magic because of what I do know psychologically. And I've just kind of always understood things that people don't say. I've been able to always read between the lines, so to speak, whether they were clients or friendships or relationships. I just understand the human psyche on a different level than the average person, because it's something that interests me, it's fascinating to me, and I have a lot of wisdom to bring to the world, especially the occult community, on the subject. And I believe that that is why King Paimon wanted me to invoke him daily, because I was feeling that the magic had become mundane because of the way that we feel like we have to practice it, right? A lot of people are afraid to get it wrong, or to mess up, or to do something wrong, and so it holds us back from even trying. So when I heard invoke me every day, I have a choice whether I want to react like, ooh, you know, I don't know if I want to do that, or just like, okay, and then allowing him to show me new ways to invoke him by building a relationship with him. So it really turns into my main offering to King Paimon being spending time honoring him, and then he shows up in me. He shows up in aspects of my life. He's grown my interest, and he's allowed me to have a deeper understanding of the things that I've always been interested in. For me to have a deeper understanding and bringing my studies to a different level has been really incredible, and I just didn't know it was possible. Like, you don't know that you don't know things, right? Like, it's impossible to know that you don't know things that you think you know all of. And I'm just that kind of person. Like, I get to a certain point and I'm like, oh, I know all of this. Like, I know everything there is to know about this one thing. Like, you know, on to the next. But with King Paimon, he really made me revisit the ideas of alchemy, and he helped my understanding of alchemy grow and grow and grow. Like, I'm getting chills on the back of my head right now. Ever since sending out the offerings to him, also it felt like a light switch turned on. That work that I was doing with Belial had immediately shifted. It was a metamorphosis that I had experienced. When I woke up the next morning, I felt like I was a completely different person. And that continues to prove itself to be true. I started getting more energy and putting my focus on things that I had been sort of putting in the background, like cleaning up my house. The clutter inside of my home had become an externalization of the clutter that was in my mind and the shit that I was working through in my mind. But it was suddenly like everything had flipped. Allowing myself to do the clutter that was outside helped to clear up and helped me to understand the clutter that was on the inside, and not only just clear it up, but turn it into something that was so insanely useful. I mean, this is why this series came about, because of calling on King Paimon to build this relationship. So a couple of weeks ago, I was talking to Uriel. The first episode of Shadow Journals was about to premiere later that night, and we were talking about, you know, like our channels, and we were talking about this or that. And I was telling him how I would love to start blogging again, because the video would be really great in like written format. I wanted to change my domain name because Radical Soul Alchemy is from when I was coaching, and I didn't want to bring the residual energy of me when I was coaching into this life that I have now. The way that I see what I was doing when I was coaching before was, it looked really damn close. Like, it looked super close to the vision that I have for my life and the purpose, the reason why I'm here. My life then had so many similarities with what I know my true will and my true purpose to be, but it just wasn't it. It was a shadow version of my vision. What happens is we have to develop a lot of courage to be able to take a good thing that you've built for yourself that looks good. It seems like the pieces of the puzzle fit, but it's just not quite there. It's just not there. It's just not it. It's not the thing. It looks identical, but it's just not it. And so the courage that you have to muster to be able to take a good thing and throw it away because it's not it, because it doesn't have that feeling of absolute fulfillment, I believe that it's then, in that moment, when you decide, nope, it's damn close, but it ain't it. And then you take it and you throw it away. I'm getting ringing in my ear right now. That's crazy. That is the moment that the metamorphosis truly begins to take place. It's the moment that the false idealized version of yourself that has all these hopes and goals and dreams of being just so happy and successful, that all dies. And you get to begin the real process. You get to begin the real work. No matter how much work that took to build, it was almost like a test for myself. Like, okay, I could spend the rest of my life doing something that I'm not absolutely in love with, because it does give me good results. It does allow me to say, like, hey, I'm successful at something and I'm helping people. But it doesn't give that absolute fulfillment. It doesn't give that feeling of my work here is done. I knew that because I had thrown away everything else in that life, that I could not carry over the same website name. I just couldn't. It was not going to happen. So he encouraged me, was like, yeah, I think that's a really great idea. You totally should go for it. And I was like, okay, well, you know, I didn't realize in that moment I was putting in a request. And King Paimon knows your true will, right? Like, all of the demons know you. They know you know you. So even though I hadn't asked King Paimon for anything, he knew that part of my true will is to have relationships with my family and to be close with my family and like actually be functioning and have healthy relationships with my family. That's why he had my mom text me, and she texted me again for my birthday. It's just, I mean, he knows your true will. A couple months ago, I had gotten stuck in this thought loop, this really shitty thought loop that was affecting my entire body. And you know, whenever you get into one of those moments where you can't dig yourself out of it, it's really tough to get out of it. Even if there's like another person there cheering you on. For me, something dropped in, and it was an experience. Like, I've learned all these different tools and techniques and healing modalities, helped other people, you know, to bring these modalities into their lives and make huge impact. It made huge impacts in my life as well, but it wasn't lasting. And I feel like there's a part of the process that has been watered down so it can be easier to market and so that it doesn't really scare people off. And I think that that's where the occult comes in, is those hidden aspects are going to remain hidden because they're not necessarily desirable. Like, nobody wants to buy something if they think their life is going to fall apart to get it. And so what happens is marketers and stuff, they take out the dirty work because they want the illusion of satisfaction to be the selling point for them. And that's what a lot of these healing modalities that are on the market in, you know, the new age movement, the light workers communities and things like that. If you're a light worker, like, blessings to you. I'm so happy that you're doing what you're doing, but your shit doesn't work. Like, it's not the whole story. It's not the complete puzzle. There is an aspect of every single modality that there is out there, every tool and technique that there is out there that I know of, a huge part of it is missing. So in that moment, whenever I was stuck in that thought loop, something inside of me switched on and reminded me who the fuck I am. And it was like this outpouring of everything that I know consciously and that I know unconsciously, and my superconscious knows the truth, right? It was a moment where a completely familiar yet totally foreign way of alchemy dropped in, and I experienced total transformation in that moment. I didn't necessarily know why it worked, but I know that it worked. And so somewhere in the back of my mind, I put a little, tab on there that says like revisit later, like let's put a pin in it. And I knew that I wanted to revisit this. I knew that I wanted to be able to develop this technique that I had just experienced so much power in, but I just wasn't exactly sure what had happened. I mean, like, I remember still to this day, to this moment, like what I did in what order, but I didn't, and like what it felt like and the energy and the power that I felt behind it and afterwards. And I think that that was right before the deep, hard work happened with Belial. And I believe that that's probably why it happened. But even through all of that time with that very hard work with Belial, it was still empowering. There was never a moment where I was like, I'm depressed, like poor me. There was never one of those. Even though if you were looking at me and talking to me about like the things I was experiencing, you would expect me to be that way. But it wasn't. It was totally empowering. So again, with King Paimon and all of his knowledge and wisdom, dropped in the name Black Flame Alchemy. And for me, it was just a couple hours after saying that, I want to change the name of my blog. I knew that it wasn't just a website name. I was like, this is the modality. This is what I've been waiting for. Like, this is it. I immediately got in my journal. Well, first I went and I bought it on HostGator, and I was surprised that nobody bought that domain before. But I wrote in my journal like May 13th. Today is the day Black Flame Alchemy is formed, and I was so stoked. And it was the next day. Like, I wrote a decree about what it was, all this stuff. I wrote all of the ideas and different magic that Belial gave me. Like, I wrote everything. It was like everything just coalesced. It was like from those words, everything that needed to pour out did. So, of course, I finally realized why King Paimon was next. To help me develop something that I personally felt like was my mission to develop for years. Since my very first time trying a healing modality. I wanted something that would be extremely effective, long-lasting, and that most importantly did not require the limitation of the light grid. We'll just call it that. I knew that he was going to help me develop my art. He started to bring to me a more complete understanding of what healing actually is, of what evolution actually is, and who we really are, and the actual power that we have. As humans, we like to think of ourselves as limited. Of course, we obey the laws of gravity and all of that. There are physical laws that manifest themselves on this plane, and while we're in our bodies, we do adhere to these governing laws, physics. But the power of our mind is so great, and it's not just like what you hear about the power of the mind. When I first started getting into personal development, it was so exciting to me. And the idea that a person could transform using the power of their mind alone was so intriguing. And I became obsessed with it, like really became obsessed with it. And the problem was that as I was learning and as I was looking forward to the transformations being promised, I became a preacher of that. And this happens to a lot of people. And after the experiences I've been having, I am certain that 99% of the people that teach and preach about healing, about personal development, about manifestation, about whatever it is, don't understand the mechanics of it. They understand, just like I understood, the explanation of the mechanics of it, but never really fully experienced it for themselves. Here I am, standing face to face with an aspect of myself, individualized as King Paimon, like a wall being broken down for me to experience these things, finally. To have a truly intimate connection and understanding of all the things that I have been trying my very best to experience and understand. That it's suddenly not just theory, but it's happening and it's now. And without even having to ask, things show up. This is the true will being expressed. When we work on ourselves in such a deep way, we don't have to get caught up in the I don't know what I want kind of thing. Like, if you don't know what you want, you're going to ask for shit that you don't actually want, but you think people would be impressed by you having. You're going to ask for things from shadow. Whenever you are experiencing your true will being expressed, it's much less verbal. You don't have to think about the way your perfect day would look. It's helpful to think of that, because a lot of the time what we're doing is we're having to experience a bunch of things that we think we want in order to figure out we don't want it, which ultimately leads us to know what it is that we do want. And the things that could get to happen from this place are above and beyond what your human limitation would even allow you to consider asking for. This truly could not have come at a better time. Like, period. It could not have come at a better time. It was the next day, and I had opened up my journal to start writing a ritual for calling back your power. What ended up coming out was a detailed explanation of Black Flame Alchemy. I will be introducing this to you guys very soon. I have a couple of people who are already going to be in the private group for Black Flame Alchemy while we work through it and just, get some input going in, so I'm not just throwing something at you that's like, oh, yep, this worked for me and only me. So, we just want to be able to refine it and everything, but I will be sharing it with you guys. But since the Black Flame Alchemy came through and started to be developed, King Paimon has given me at least 2 other very solid tools to work with as far as healing and manifestation go. It's been incredible. He's really helpful in that department. Like, he will just give me ideas. Like, if I lay down for a nap, it's like I'll have a dream about me doing something with somebody or a group of people, and people having like experiences with like overcoming shit that they couldn't before, or shit that they didn't know was there, being healed, and not just healed but also transmuted at the same time into something that actually gives them power and feeds them. And it's just been it's been so cool. King Paimon has been and will continue to be just such a powerhouse of a creative force in my life. The only thing about what he's showing me is that he's showing me that I have to work with other people again. Back whenever Bilal was giving me all this stuff to share with the world, I was just so scared of getting stuck in like this shadowy version of my vision, the one that's really damn close, but it's just not it. I was just so scared of getting stuck in that place again that I just shut it off. King Paimon assures me that, like, yeah, we are going to move forward with this, you have to start working with people again. And the way that that's going to look, I don't know. I know that it's not going to look the same as it was when I was coaching, that's for sure. So what I do is I just trust. I just take the very next step, and I don't ask for more. I don't plan for more. I just take the very next step, because I know that the one after that I don't need to worry about. I only need to worry about like what's here right now. And, you know, if I plan to put out a video on a certain day, then I know that I need to have that video made. That's literally as far as it goes. And that's as far as it needs to go. Like, it doesn't need to go any farther than that. So all this stuff that, you know, Bilal gave me, and, you know, I promised him that I would put it out there, and I fully planned on it, you know, and it was just this connective relationship with Bilal and King Paimon that I was waiting for. Last Monday, I asked King Paimon a question. It would be key in understanding fully the process of Black Flame Alchemy. And he told me I could tell you, but Lucifer has something to show you. So that will be my next Shadow Journals video. And there's one other thing that I'd like to add to this experience. On Thursday, I lost my vape. On my birthday, I spent 2 hours sort of like frantically searching for it, and didn't matter what I asked my pendulum, didn't matter what memories I could recall about where I left it. Usually, whenever I ask, like if I lose my vape and I just say, "Where's my vape?" like my brain will go there. Like it will show me where I had it last. And then I go there and I'll find it exactly where the memory was, or like the vision that pops into my mind. None of that was working, and I couldn't understand why. So I just gave it a rest. I was like, whatever, I'll just smoke cigarettes instead. I realized that night how much power nicotine had over me. I realized how I was abusing tobacco and nicotine in general. I mean, I was smoking cigarettes and vaping just out of habit, like not even paying attention to it anymore. Like I had quit cigarettes a while back, probably like 4 years ago. And I started again for some reason. I don't even remember why. I questioned it, you know, I questioned it a few times. I wanted to quit a few times, but I never gave it a second thought in the past year or so. And so it was just a moment where I realized I got to see how dependent I had become on cigarettes again. And it was just something that wasn't in the front of my mind that obviously needed my attention. I needed a reality check. And I still can't find my vape. So Friday I went and I bought a new one. I decided that was it. As soon as I bought it, I was like, that's it. I'm done smoking. That's it. And from then on, I was like, it was just like that. I didn't even question it again. Yeah, I am still smoking a vape, but you can't replace coffee and cigarettes with a vape. Like, you just can't. Like, that's a ritual to me, you know? The problem comes when you are abusing it, and it's not like a meaningful ritual. I was a little bit worried that I was gonna have cravings and stuff, and that it was gonna actually be a problem, that it was actually gonna be a fight for me. So I went on to Goetia Guide, which is an app that you can download. Sarah Petrocelli put it out on the App Store. Thank you, Sarah. You just type into the search bar what it is that you need. And for me, I put in addiction. I think like 6 spirits came up, 6 goetic demons. And the first one was Ha'agenti. And I clicked on it and I read it. And I was like, okay, this is perfect, because this demon can help change parts of yourself that you're not really like feeling, you know, and can help with addiction and bad habits. Whenever I saw alchemy in the description, I was kind of blown away, because as much help as King Paimon has been with dropping in ideas and helping me to develop this technique that I'm working on, I've been really wanting to understand the how more, because my saboteur, my lovely little saboteur, wants to know how and why everything works the way it does, which can be a curse but it can be a blessing if you know how to stimulate your saboteur to where it's not really a saboteur, it's a magician at this point, which makes sense because that's what we're doing here in magic, right? Whenever I'm in my shadow, it's a shadowy aspect of myself. It's a saboteur. It says, how do you think you're gonna pull that off? Oh really? Tell me how you think you're gonna do that. It wants to know, how's that gonna work? Like in a snarky, smartass kind of way. But whenever the magician steps in after the alchemy has occurred, it says, oh really? How's that gonna work? Let's find out. So that is what the alchemy looks like. You really are becoming something completely different. Your whole way of being completely changes. So back again to King Paimon knowing my true will. He's already pointing me towards Lucifer because Lucifer has something to show me. And King Paimon's job here is to help be a creative force in my life, which he is doing a perfect job of. He is helping me reopen my creativity, reopen my channels of understanding and knowing and accepting myself as already a badass. Already knowing what I need to know, already prepared for whatever comes. And I still want to know why it works. You know, all of these little things. So it was like, hey, you need to quit smoking. And I want you to meet this spirit who is a master and teacher of alchemy. And they'll also help you with your addictions while we're at it. It was a real clever way of King Paimon introducing me to the next spirit. Lucifer I already have a connection with, so that's not a new relationship that's going to be formed for him to show me what it is that he wants to show me. But the one with Ha'agenti is. So I'm not sure which one I will do next. I will put a poll in the cards over here. And so just vote if you want to see Lucifer next or Ha'agenti next. And I'll be more than happy to make that video for you. Keep an eye out for the Demonic Diaries. If you're watching this in the premiere with me, then hi! I'm sure I'm talking to you right now. What's up, guys? If you're not watching right now live on the premiere with me, I'd love to know in the comments what in this video was sort of like a moment for you that stood out that you can take and apply into your own life right now. If you want to be in the private group that I am offering, the Black Flame Alchemy, this is a really crazy weird prompt, but this is what King Paimon told me to ask. Just email me, Astrid at Black Flame Alchemy, with the writing prompt, answer a question that you've never asked but always had. And I'll be opening the private group this week, and I'm excited to see who else is going to be joining us. I am opening up for consultations and divination. Usually for consultations, if it's a consultation for magical work, that's what a consultation is for. If you want me to do magic on your behalf, then we would have a consultation, and that includes divination to find out what type of magic exactly is best suited for your situation. We can look into it and find out exactly what to do instead of just looking at it from our own human minds and thinking, well, like, oh yeah, this is happening in my life, so this kind of spell is going to be perfect for it. You know, when we do divination together, we'll be able to see, not only will you be able to see that, hey, likely this is going to happen if you do this spell, and maybe that wouldn't be so good for you. You'll be able to see that, but then you'll also get a second set of eyes on your situation, somebody looking in from the outside who can see things that maybe you're not seeing because you're in the middle of it. That's usually how that goes. And I just saw something walking in my closet, so that was cool. So there's that. We could do a consultation to figure out what magic to do for you. I also have just the divination on its own where, you know, maybe you don't want me to do a spell on your behalf, but you do want your cards read. I can do Oracle or Tarot. And then I have spiritual advisory sessions open up too now. So this would be if you'd like help with your magic, if you would like help seeing your life from a different perspective, if you would like help finding perspective in your life, if you need guidance. And then I also have healing sessions where we would work on, you know, traumas that are, you know, really fucking with you. Maybe you are feeling like you're in a rut lately and you can't figure out why, or maybe you're just feeling super off, you're just not feeling connected, or maybe you feel fine, but you want to feel even better. So these are all just examples of some of the work that I have that's available. Just wanted to let you know. I may or may not have a calendar link, and if I do, then it will be in the pinned comment. Otherwise, just email me, Astrid at Black Flame Alchemy, and let me know which one you're interested in and we can get that worked out. I think that that's all for now. Don't forget to participate in the poll. Check out some of my other playlists. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video if you liked it. Share it with a friend if you know somebody who likes to hear about this crazy shit. Yeah, that'll do it. Can't wait to see you next time, and thank you for sticking around. Love you so much, and I'll see you later. Bye.